Today, we're going to be discussing mistakes to avoid, especially during retirement, part two. Hello, welcome to Money Talks. My name is Ken from Summit Financial Consulting. If you'd like more information about what you hear on the show today, be sure to give us a call, 586-226-2100, or you can visit us online at summitfc.net. While you're at the website, be sure to check out the podcast page. You can subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Amazon Music, and check out past shows. So for a lot of people, they're going to be getting ready to retire here sooner rather than later. There's so many baby boomers and Gen Xers out there. And in our last show, we went through some very, very important mistakes that we would like people to avoid, especially when they're getting ready for retirement. We had so many of them. We had to cut it up into two shows here. Still got a ton of great content to go into. I'm going to discuss 401ks, IRAs, pensions. Are they well positioned? When's the right time to turn on Social Security? Things like that. But before we jump into it, let's introduce my co-host, Tony Shore. Tony, how did your Halloween weekend turn out? Did you end up dressing up any of those cats and decorations? Did you win the costume contest with your Devo costume from last week? How did it all go?
Well, first of all, we had a day here at Luson Media, part of Gradient Financial. And in Luson Media, we had a costume contest and people dressed up. I wore a Devo Energy hat, the red flower pot upside down looking hat, and my Devo glasses. So I went as a new wave, basically Mark Mothersbaugh of Devo. The problem is I'm the oldest person in my office area in Luson Media, and all the 20-somethings and 30-somethings that I work with, none of them knew who Devo was.
Not one?
Nope. They didn't know who I was, which is bad enough. It's like, okay, you don't recognize the Devo hat. You weren't around in the 80s. But they didn't know who the group Devo was. And I'm like, okay, the song Whip It? How about that one? Nope.
You'd think they would.
It's like I am getting old. If no one knows who the band Devo was, then I'm old, I guess.
I mean, I guess it was 40 years ago, but they had such a unique look. Like, I was born in the 70s, but I know plenty of bands and performers from the 50s and 60s. I don't know. I guess they're just too busy looking at their phones, Tony. I don't know what to tell you.
They are. Oh, they're not listening, though. Devo's on that phone. They can access it.
That's true.
And then I started singing the song Whip It, and they're like, oh, I've heard that song.
Oh, well, good. Okay.
Well,
there's hope. Yeah, we're fine.
There's hope. But the fact, Devo, they're pretty visually stunning, and they're all over the place, right? Anyway, That's kind of how that went. Otherwise, my Halloween was good, uneventful. How about yours? What did you end up doing?
We didn't do too much for Halloween, just handed out to trick-or-treaters. But the big news of the weekend was my daughter played in that state volleyball tournament. So there was 143 Lutheran schools in the state, and we ended up finishing second. So that was exciting. They almost pulled it off and won the state championship. They won the first set, but then ended up losing in the third and final sudden death set. But great season, great times, great team, great experience for my daughter. Very stressful for the parents in the stands, but it was all good. Very, very thankful that they made it that far.
Well, that's huge for you, and you got to be proud. I that's fun. They made it a good amount of the way, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you had fun, right?
Yes, no doubt. Tons and tons of fun.
Kids sports, yeah. Kids sports. So the title today, you said part two, but part two is boring to call something part two, Ken.
Oh,
I think
bad.
We should call it the return of the son of financial mistakes to avoid.
I like it.
Especially during retirement, or at least the return of financial mistakes to avoid, or the son of financial mistakes to avoid, like all those old movies.
Yeah.
They used to call it the son of the blob, or the return of the son of the blob.
There you go. Yeah. I gotta work a little harder on my naming. You're right.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But there are a lot. We only got about halfway through the list, if that. So, Ken, where do we want to pick up? What's another big financial mistake that people need to avoid, especially during retirement or leading up to retirement?
Yeah. So the first one I wanted to cover today was just potentially turning on Social Security too soon. So this is a really big topic of conversation with each and every client, and we highly recommend that people sit down with a fiduciary and create a comprehensive financial plan to determine, if when you turn on Social Security is almost one of the most important decisions when it comes to retirement. Maybe next to deciding, at what age you're going to retire at. So every year that you wait to turn it on from age 62 until your full retirement age, which for most people nowadays is age 67, you're going to get an increase in your benefits. And that's 6.5% leading up until full retirement age. And then it goes up to a full 8% between full retirement age and age 70. So there's a benefit for waiting. And it's not just for yourself either. If you happen to be married, your spouse may be living off of that money someday too, because a lot of people forget that once you pass away, the surviving spouse doesn't still get both Social Securities; they just get the higher of the two. So it's really important to not just create a plan for yourself, but if you're married, create a plan for the whole team there. But yeah, turning it on too early, if you get sort of impatient and just decide to turn it on early, it could potentially hurt your benefits and your spouse's survivor benefits. But at the same time, we got to have a conversation about your life expectancy. How long do people live in your house, in your family? Maybe not in your house, but in your family tree, maybe, parents, grandparents, how long did they live for? Were they big drinkers or smokers that might pull their age down a little bit lower?
Sure.
So that's the conversation that we have with everyone when it comes time to discuss how we want to handle Social Security, do it as strategically as possible.
Yeah, I mean, nobody knows when they're going to, when their time is going to come, right? It could be tomorrow, it could be 30 years from now, which makes it hard to know the exact right moment to file for Social Security. However, you can look at your health history and you can look at your financial situation. And you have a program that runs over 20,000 calculations, Social Security maximization report that you run for folks. And that will really help them at least see, okay, if you live to this age, here's where your sweet spot is. Here's where you're going to make the most money. It's not a matter of just filing as early as possible because you'll get more checks. That's not. So many people do that. In fact, I read, Ken, that the majority of Americans file at 62 as early as possible, and they're getting like 30% reduction in benefits by doing that.
That's right. Yeah. And that's why it's our lead off for Son of Retirement Mistakes episode, is because it is a big one, and it can really harm your benefits long term.
Right.
And some people work long, like we've had people that'll say, you know what, I'm 67, I'm still working, I'm just going to turn it on. There's tons of people that it does make sense to turn it on right at 62. I talked to a client last week who both of their parents passed away in their early 60s.
Oh,
So, they were like 62, 63, and they're like, yeah, I'm
sure.
pretty much outliving my parents at this point. So I think I'm going to draw Social Security, because the
Sure.
break even point is usually in the early 80s. Like you
Yeah.
gotta live almost 20 years to really, uh,
Right.
see a benefit to delaying Social Security. So
Yeah.
that's if you're single, though. If you're married, it's a different story. So again, we don't
It
know when
is.
people are going to pass away. Lots of number crunching we can do for people, Tony. We'd love to do that number crunching.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You're good at that. You love doing that. You have a lot of reports you can run. And people think, well, that's how he makes money. He's going to charge me to run that Social Security maximization report. And you're not.
No.
You offer no charge, no obligation consultations. You'll run some reports. If they decide to work with you moving forward and have you manage their money and their finances and their retirement plan overall for years to come and their family, then sure. And you're very transparent about that. But you've helped so many people in the community. And I know you and your team there love to talk to folks and help them with that. So I encourage our listeners out there to pick up the phone and give you a call. If you're close to retirement, or if you haven't yet filed for Social Security, or you just filed, go in and get that report run.
Yeah, let's talk shop.
Yeah. And talk shop, with
Yeah.
talk shop with Ken. I love it. That's what we should have called the show. Talking shop with Ken.
Yeah, the brainstorming going on during the show is just legendary.
It's legendary, all right, Ken.
Yep.
But that's why we're going to stick to the finances and the tips you have for us. So, what's another financial mistake that we should avoid?
So taking money from your 401k, and in most cases, it's borrowing from your 401k. So we've had clients and people that prospects, people that we met for the first time, where they've had an unexpected expense come up. If you had something you really didn't expect, maybe your car breaks down, or you got some tremendous medical bills or something like that. These are situations where maybe we talk through this and maybe it makes sense. Although with medical bills, there's usually no interest that's paid as long as you have a payment plan in place. So side note on that. But anyways, yeah, people will borrow from a 401k and they don't always realize the negative consequences of doing that. So money that you were previously putting in to be invested is now instead just going towards that loan balance. So, it's sort of robbing from the future a little bit. Also, those contributions towards the loan, those are not matched by your employer. So that's I want to put an exclamation point behind that one, because there's people that are doing, let's just say for conversation's sake, somebody has an employer and they're putting 6% in and their employer gives them a 3% match. Well, if you do a 401k loan and now you're still putting the same amount in to pay back that loan, and maybe you're still making some contributions, but poof, that employer match disappears because loan paybacks are not matched. So if you're contributing 10%, 15%, it might not be that big of a deal because you'll still be able to put in more than enough to get that employer match. But if you're missing out on the employer match because of your 401k loan, huge negative consequences literally could affect your retirement, because people don't realize, especially if you're earlier in your career, the compounding of that money over what could be months or years could really make a difference. I mean, you could be delaying your retirement just because you decided to get a new car.
Yeah.
So, and then the other risk is just that if you get laid off, if you change careers, you're basically handcuffed to that employer now. And if those cuffs break for any reason, now you've got taxes and penalties, because in most cases that 401k loan is going to be defaulted on, and now you're going to be paying taxes and penalties on every dollar that's left on the loan. So plenty of people feel very, very secure in their employer and their current job, but you never know. There's jobs that get cut all the time. AI is eating into jobs nowadays. People are able to do more with less hours worked. It's just an additional risk to consider before you get a 401k loan.
Yeah. Don't touch those retirement accounts before retirement, right? I mean, that's
a great rule of thumb. Yeah.
I mean, that's what they're for. You should not touch them. That's how I view it. I don't have that's not even my money right now. That's retired Tony's money. I don't have access to it. That's the way I look at it, right? I mean, that's my wife and I's retirement money. And 401k, IRAs, that's not your money for right now. Are you older than 59 and a half? Are you retired? If you don't meet those two criterias, you should never touch a retirement account, in my opinion, right? Wouldn't you say?
I would agree with that. I think that's a great motto to live by.
Yeah.
Usually when people are taking these 401k loans, it's not for a good reason. It's to help pay for my kids' travel sports, or to buy a new luxury car, or to take that trip to Disney World. These are things that in a lot of cases, if you just toughed it out a bit longer and save some money, you could pay for it out of pocket and not have these big literal and potential negative consequences associated with tapping into those retirement funds.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. And those are for retirement. And that's why working with someone like yourself, Ken, and your team there is so good, because you will help people. There are other alternatives, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that would be the last resort. And some people think, well, I absolutely have to have it. It's the last resort. But have you really thought of everything and every possibility and looked at all of the possibilities? Have you looked at a home equity line of credit, right? HELOC maybe. there are other possibilities that are less damaging, because if you pull money out of a retirement account, you're losing out on all that compounding interest. You're really setting yourself back, and you're going to derail your retirement. And for what? Especially if it's something like a new car that find another way to finance that, right?
Right. I mean, I hate to say it, but there are credit cards out there that are only charging 4% interest for 12 months.
Yeah.
If you can get away with paying it back within the 12 months, that's a way better option than potentially missing out on a match. If you get laid off or fired, now you got to pay taxes and penalty. I mean, the taxes and penalties could be 20, 30, 40%,
of
taxes
the amount.
too.
Yeah.
And if things are tight, you probably don't have an emergency fund. How are you going to pay that tax bill then? So there's just so many potential pitfalls with that. So definitely a big potential mistake.
Yeah. Well, plus it's a joint account. If it's a traditional 401k or 403b or TSP or IRA, traditional IRA, it's a joint account. If you have 100,000 in there, only 75 of it or 70 of it is actually yours. It's a joint account with Uncle Sam. Uncle Sam.
I was going to say, yep.
Yeah, and he's not even my real uncle, and yet I have this. I have a joint account with him with all my retirement money. Why does he get 25-30% of it? I don't. Yeah, it's crazy. And so if you're not working with a financial plan, if you don't have a retirement income plan in place to deal with these things, it could be trouble. And so if you're taking money out of there, you're going to have to pay Uncle Sam his share for everything you take out, plus a penalty probably. Plus you're going to lose out on all the compounding interest. It's like starting over. So yeah, rough. Okay, what's the next one?
You actually just segued right into my next mistake, and that is
I'm jumping ahead again.
No. That was actually perfect. So the next one was not doing the math and seeing if IRA to Roth IRA conversions would be a benefit to you. So you took the words right out of my mouth. Like when you have a 401k, a pre-tax 401k or a pre-tax IRA, Uncle Sam is part owner of your account because there's a tax bill that has to be paid in the future. So what we help people do literally every day is calculate, if I were to convert some of this IRA money to Roth IRA money, you do have to pay the taxes on it now. And you can either pay that out of your pocket, or you can just have it taken out of the money that's in the account. So if you converted $10,000, maybe 7,500 of that, obviously everybody's different, but goes into the Roth IRA. Just pay the government their taxes now. But now that account will grow tax-free for as long as you live. And assuming you hold it for 5 years, and then if you don't need the money, it can actually go to the next generation and continue to grow tax-free for another 10 years after that. So Roth IRAs are a tremendous estate planning tool, financial planning tool, retirement tool. And it's a good safety protocol because, as everyone knows, our government's national debt is completely out of control. And eventually, just the interest on our national debt is going to be more than all tax revenue. And potentially that's going to happen within the next 10 years. So what are we going to do at that point? Now we're just borrowing more to be able to pay the interest, plus all the other things that the government does every single day, Social Security, national defense, you name it. So there's some real risk coming in the future from our government. So for now, it's a great opportunity to just get the taxes out of the way, pay them now, because there's a chance taxes will have to go up in the future because of that debt bomb, I guess, that the government's getting ready to drop on us at some point.
No, taxes aren't going to go up.
When
has that ever happened? Oh, they're at historic lows now, but they have to go up at some point, I would say. I mean, I don't know how they could not with the deficit as large as it is and the situation we're in. That's a big one. That's really big. So, Ken, what's next? What's something else? Let's keep this thing going.
Yeah. So for those type A personality people out there, my next mistake is decluttering, but going too far. We have a really good friend that's a neighbor of ours.
Wow, this is a new spin, a hot take.
Yeah.
You can declutter too much?
You can declutter too much. I have a neighbor that owns a decluttering and organizing company, and she's like so busy. Like a lot of people just need an extra helping hand with getting organized and getting things decluttered. So she always says,
Yeah.
if it doesn't bring you, her name's Jessica. She says, if it doesn't bring you joy, then just get rid of it. And it doesn't matter what you paid for it in the past. What's it worth now? You don't just hold on to it because you invested some money in it. Like, just consider that money gone. So those are two
Yep.
of our decluttering tips. But on the flip side of this, it's very, very possible that when you're just like, oh, these are old papers, getting ready to shred stuff, people all the time accidentally shred or throw out important documents.
Oh, I've done
So
it. I've done that. I'm guilty.
yeah,
I'm like, we don't need this. I just hate clutter. I mean, and you wouldn't know that by looking at our house. We it's like we save everything, but I'm big on dejunking. Like, I let it get to a point, and then I'm like, all this has to go. And then my wife will be like, where's the so and so? Like a year later, and I'm like, I don't know. You didn't throw that out, did you?
We accidentally threw out my son's social security card. So we got, it's
Ken,
like,
Ken
I know.
laughs. I love how you just laugh at that. It's like,
Whoopsie. Well, I'm trying to share the love here, Tony. I don't
Whoopsie.
want people to make the
Yeah.
same mistakes that we did.
Wow. Yeah, we've thrown away really important things. A title to a vehicle.
Oh yeah.
Our car title. It's like, poof, gone. I
Well,
think, and we're like, I think it was in that stack of papers. Well, I threw that out. I thought it was in with the junk. How did a title get in with junk mail? It's like,
Yeah.
come on, that can't happen.
Yeah. Tax
You
returns.
got to be careful.
Retirement account paperwork. If you ever get audited by the IRS,
Oof.
don't
Don't even say that without crossing your fingers and knocking on wood. Don't
sorry.
jinx it.
I'll say the rosary or something.
Yeah, you said the A word. That's wrong. We'll have to edit that out of the show. Audit.
Well, and a lot of people, like, I've had clients that own their, obviously people own a home and then they own a vacation home, and then they don't realize that when they go to sell that property, if you invested money in the property in terms of improvements, that can help relieve a tax burden down the road.
Sure.
So keeping receipts and records of improvements that have been made to the house can really make a difference later in life.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's huge. So that's a big one. Don't throw out papers you might need. Store them in a bin. Keep them in storage. That's why they make those cheap plastic bins. Put all the papers in there, seal it up, and tuck it away somewhere, right?
You got it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's smart. Don't lose those things. Don't throw away your child's social security card.
Nope.
I would not recommend that. I'm not going to name names, Ken Wink, but these things have happened to people.
They have. Yeah. I mean, you threw out a Tony, or you threw out a title, Tony. I feel like
to a car. Yeah. To a vehicle that we owned. Yeah. Yeah. Can't find that. And then, I mean, birth certificates, we've misplaced those. We found them eventually, but panic ensued, and they weren't where one of them wasn't where the rest of them were. We don't know how these things happen.
Yeah, blame the kids.
We accumulate, so blame the kids. Can we blame that one on the dog? Can we blame our dog ate the car title?
There you go.
Our poor dog gets blamed. The kids and the dog. It's impossible to have nice things if you have kids and pets. That's my saying.
True story.
Because we have both. We have 4 cats, a dog, and 3 kids. And I tell my wife all the time, we could have nice things if we didn't have these kids and these pets. And she goes, yeah, but would that be any fun? No. Yeah. Our things wouldn't get broke. They'd stay nice. The house would stay a lot cleaner. But that's not life. Then you're not living, right?
That's right.
Yeah. So, anything else on that list, or have you gotten through everything finally?
A couple more things.
Okay.
Yep. Putting kids first. So paying for tuition or weddings at the expense of your retirement could cause some very, very serious problems down the road. Saving for a 529 plan while they're leading up to college is a good idea. Encouraging them to do an in-state school or a community college rather than an out-of-state school is a good one. And then obviously applying for scholarships is a good one. But just, completely torching your retirement to give them an extra chunk of change for retirement. I always use the example that if you're on an airplane and those masks drop down, they always say, put it on yourself first and then help kids or those around you. I say the same thing when it comes to people's retirement. when it comes to paying for college. Like, take care of your own retirement first, because you can't get a loan to pay for your retirement,
No.
but you can get a loan to pay for your kids' college. And
Yeah.
that's really, really
That's the
like,
difference right there. Yeah. You can't be taking out loans to live on and buy groceries and pay for your health care in retirement. But you can take out loans, or your grandkids can take out loans, or your children, for college education. So don't put your grandkids or kids' vehicles or college education ahead of your own retirement savings. It doesn't make sense. It's not really helping them in the long run either if
no.
you're doing that.
Yeah, because
Because
that's
eventually they're probably they're going to have more of a financial burden with you if you do that.
right. Yeah. And that's my last two mistakes here, is just ignoring long-term care and not doing your estate planning. So if you don't want to be a burden on your kids and grandkids, you've got to get all your affairs in order.
Yeah.
Talk to an estate planning attorney, talk to a fiduciary, look at whether or not some type of either setting money aside for long-term care or having some type of long-term care game plan in place for how you want that handled, and then get those estate planning documents done. We do not want a judge making decisions about, are we going to pull the plug or not if you're in a coma? Where do you want your funeral arrangements to be? Where do you want to be laid to rest? Don't have people or a judge guessing what you would have wanted, and then it just makes good financial sense. What if you don't have these documents in place and you're in a coma? Nobody thinks to pay your electric bill. You don't have a power of attorney in place. So now the electricity gets shut off at your house. Now the basement floods because the sub pump turned off. That's like a nightmare scenario, but these things absolutely happen because people just don't think about it. You got to designate someone to be in charge of your affairs if you're not available. And then obviously after you pass away, we want to decide who gets what. You don't want your family completely torn apart because they're arguing over your stuff. Get it figured out, get it in writing. We do have a team of attorneys that we work with here at Summit Financial that we can help people get this all situated. So give us a call and we'd be happy to get you connected with the attorneys to set this all up.
Awesome. Well, Ken, great show. A lot of great information to avoid financial mistakes in and around retirement time. If our listeners don't have a solid retirement income plan in place, financial plan, or they want to get a second opinion on where they're at, have questions about some of these, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah, give us a call at 586-226-2100 or go to our website, summitfc.net. We'd be happy to meet with you.
That's great. Well, thanks, Ken. And listeners and viewers, thanks for tuning in. That does it for today's episode of Money Talks with Summit Financial Consulting and our host, Ken Wink.